Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the CINCILINGUA membership program. Welcome to our live class this afternoon. It's great to have you with me, as it is always great to have you with me in attendance for our live classes. I hope all of you are having a great day, enjoying the day. And so for those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Todd, and I am here in Cincinnati, Ohio. The place of CINCILINGUA's headquarters since 1972. So we've been here a good long time now, a good many years. So so I hope all of you are looking forward to the class today. As I am, we are going to be looking today. Well, we're going to be continuing our look at prepositions of time. As you can see here, this is a review of prepositions of time. And after we do a brief review of these prepositions of time, we are going to launch into some discussion questions. Okay, so that's the plan. Before starting here, as I've mentioned in the past, and as I will probably continue to mention, prepositions, the reason that we spend a considerable amount of time rehearsing and reviewing and practicing and discussing prepositions is because they're difficult. Okay, they're difficult for students of English. They're challenging, they're difficult, and they're frustrating. So we try to simplify and facilitate the process of learning our prepositions and understanding how we use them as much as we can. And so, just by way of introduction, very brief introduction here about prepositions and why they're difficult. Well, a number of reasons actually, but a couple of reasons. One, we have a lot of prepositions. We have more prepositions than, for example, in Spanish. There are more English prepositions than Spanish prepositions. So that's one reason. Another reason is that all of our prepositions can be used in a large number of ways. Okay, so our prepositions are not limited to one specific use. Okay, so I say that because I just want all of you to be aware that we're going to be reviewing our prepositions of time, but just understand that these prepositions can be used in ways that are not necessarily related to time. They can be used in different ways. So that's my point, and that's all I want you to understand about this. But today, we're going to continue our focus on these prepositions as they relate to time. Okay, let's get started. Let's do this. Here we go. Prepositions. Okay, prepositions of time. So for is a preposition that indicates or expresses this idea of duration. So for 12 years, for 5 days, for 20 minutes. So I could say, for example, it has been raining for 3 hours. It has been raining for 3 hours. Or it has not rained for 2 weeks. See, for is indicating a duration of time. Now, since is also used to express this idea of duration, but it marks a beginning time, a time in the past when something began. So, for example, I could say, it has been raining since 11 a.m. It has been raining since 11 a.m. What I mean here is at 11 a.m., it started to rain and it continues to rain. It's raining right now. Okay, so one thing that I've noted in the past, I'll note again, is these prepositions for and since, they're commonly, not always, but commonly used in the present perfect tense and in the present perfect continuous, also called the present perfect progressive tense. Okay, they're not limited to those tenses, but they often appear in those tenses. Okay. So our example here is since 1968, since January, right? Again, indicating a beginning point in the past. So I have been working at CINCILINGUA since 2011, since 2011. That's the year I began. That's the time I began working at CINCILINGUA. Okay. Moving on here, we have until. Until means up to the time of, indicating a limit in terms of time, up to the time of. And I want you all to understand here too, until is not used in reference to space or distance. Okay, it's used in relation to time, up to the time of, not up to the distance of. Okay, so for example, I would not say I ran until the top of the hill. No, because the top of the hill indicates a distance. I would say something like I ran as far as the top of the hill, or simply I ran to the top of the hill, or something like that. But I would not say until. Okay, so until is not used for distance; it's used for time. Okay, so our example here is until 2030, until October, until 2 o'clock. So our class will continue until 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our class will continue until 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, up to that limit. And then after that limit, our class will not continue past that limit. Okay. During means at the time of. At the time of. It is followed by a noun. Okay. Now, more technically, it may be followed by a article, a, an, or the, or it may be followed by an adjective, an article, and an adjective. But basically, it's followed by a noun. Okay. So, during the blizzard, during the movie, meaning at the time of the blizzard, at the time of the movie. So I ate popcorn during the movie. I ate popcorn during the movie. See, it's during and then noun. Okay. And then while has this meaning of at the same time as, something like that, indicating a simultaneous event or simultaneous events. And while is followed by a subject. Subject be a noun, it may be a pronoun, and then it's followed by a verb. Okay, so while they drove, while she slept, they listened to the radio while they drove. See, at the same time that they were driving, they listened to the radio. But notice it's subject and then a verb. They drove. She slept. Got it? All right, we're good to go here. Moving on to our promised discussion questions. Okay, so let's see what we can do with these. How did you spend your days during, there you go, at the time of the shutdown in 2020? How did you spend your days? How did you spend your time during the shutdown in 2020 when everything was shut down during the pandemic of 2020? Yeah, okay. Well, me, how did I spend my days back in those back in back at that very strange time? Well, I spent my days, I read a lot. I watched a lot of boxing and a lot of martial arts. Actually, at that time is when I started watching martial arts. I had been watching boxing for years and years and years, but martial arts it was in 2020 that I started watching martial arts. And also, I ran a lot. I ran outdoors a lot, usually in the middle of the night or the very early morning. And so that's how I spent my days during the shutdown in 2020. But what about you? How did you spend your days during that shutdown? What did you do? Okay, I'm going to move on to number 2. If you have plans to meet a friend and they don't show up, how long will you wait before you go home? If you have plans to meet a friend and they don't show up, how long will you wait before you go home? My favorite answer to questions, well, it depends. Because it always depends. It depends on do I have something else I could be doing at the time? Do I have other activities I could do at the time? Who is the friend that I'm planning to meet? Where am I? Where am I waiting for my friend? All of these things factor in to the decision-making equation. But typically, I'll just say I will wait until I'm tired of waiting. I have a pet. We call it a pet peeve. A pet peeve is something that is that just something that annoys you. It's not necessarily it's like an idiosyncrasy maybe, but I have a pet peeve. I don't like waiting for people. If I'm expecting somebody at a certain time, I want them to be there at that time, because I grow impatient, I guess, waiting for people. But again, this is a pet peeve. So chances are I will wait until I am tired of waiting, or I will wait until I'm hungry. When I'm hungry, I'm out of there. I have to go. I have to find something to eat. But what about you? What about you? How long will you wait for a friend who is not on time? Okay, number 3. How long have you been friends with your best friend? How long have you been friends with your best friend? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, in my case, this is an interesting question, because my oldest friend, who for years really was my best friend, and he's still my friend. It's just we're not as close as we used to be. But this particular friend I have known almost all my life. I've known him for more than 50 years. And so we have been friends for more than 50 years, more than 5 decades. And we're still friends, but we're not as close as we used to be. So I don't know if I could call him now my best friend. See what I'm saying here? Because because now I just talk to him occasionally. I correspond with him on social media and things like that. But in the past, I grew up with him. He was my roommate for years, and things. So I can't, but I don't think I can call him my best friend right now. But my best friend right now, I think we've been friends maybe for 5 or 6 years. Okay, my closest friend at the time, probably 6 years. What about you? That's my story. What about your story? How long have you been friends with your best friend? I've been friends with my current best friend for 6 years. But what about you? So 4, and then the duration 6 years. How long have you had a cell phone? How long have you had a cell phone? Me? Hmm. Okay. Well, I'm going to throw something out there. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I've never had a smartphone. I've never owned a smartphone. No iPhone, no kind of smartphone. But I do have a mobile. I have a flip phone, those dinosaurs that you can find in museums now. I have a flip phone, and I have had that cell phone, or I have had a cell phone, I don't know, maybe 10 years, something like that. I have had a cell phone since 2014. How about that? Since 2014. And then 2014 is the beginning time when I began to have a cell phone. But what about you? What about you all out there? How long have you had a cell phone? Okay, number 5. How long has your company been in business? How long has your company been in business? Well, CINCILINGUA, it's not my company, but the company I work for has been in business since 1972. 1972, the starting point of its business. So CINCILINGUA has been in business for 52 years now. For 52 years. That's a long time. What about your company? What about the company where you work? How long has your company been in business? Number 6, in your opinion, will gasoline-operated cars become a thing of the past? If so, when will that happen? So we are asking you here to project into the future and make a prediction. Will gasoline-operated cars become a thing of the past? If so, when will that happen? In my opinion, I don't know. It's hard to say, because there's so much money involved with gasoline. Gasoline related to the oil, and oil is, it's just hard to imagine. It's hard for me to imagine that gasoline cars will become a thing of the past, will become obsolete or extinct. But on the other hand, I think I don't know. I think it's inevitable. Yeah, I think they will, but I don't necessarily think, like a lot of people may think, that they're going to be replaced by electric cars or by some other car that is run on some alternative fuel or something. In my mind, I see cars disappearing. I just think there will be a day where cars themselves will become obsolete. But When will that happen? I don't know. I have no idea. But I think that we will continue to have gasoline operated cars until until 2070. There. I'm just throwing that out there until 2070. So I'm saying gasoline cars are going to be around for another 45, 46 years. But what do you think about that? It's an interesting question, right? What do you think about that? Will gasoline powered cars become a thing of the past? Will they be replaced by electric cars or by cars that run on some alternative fuel? Or will cars just kind of disappear and become unnecessary? What do you think about that? Okay. Moving on. Number 7. How long have you been a fan of boxing? Okay, now that one's for me. Okay, now maybe you guys are all boxing fans out there. You guys in Mexico, you're big boxing fans out there. I know you are. But this one's for me. I'm a boxing fan, and really, I don't follow other sports. I follow boxing and mixed martial arts, but especially boxing. Um, I've been a, I have been a fan of boxing since I was a child. I have been a fan of boxing since I was a child, or for 50 years. I have been a fan of boxing for 50 years. What about you? How long have you been a fan of boxing? You say you're not a fan of boxing. Well, how long have you been a fan of soccer? How about that? How long have you been a fan of soccer? Or how long have you been a fan of martial arts? You guys out there in Brazil, you guys are big fans of martial arts. Okay, so number 8, what do you usually do while you are watching a boxing match? Okay. Again, this one's for me. I usually read while I'm watching a boxing match. What I do, it's hard for me to justify spending hours and hours watching boxing. I do that on weekends. I watch a lot of boxing on weekends, but it's hard for me to justify just staring at a TV screen for hours upon hours without doing anything else. So what I usually do is have one eye watching the boxing match and another eye reading a book. Or so I kind of multitask on that, because I just can't justify spending hours and hours not really doing anything except watching a boxing match or watching boxing. But so while I'm watching boxing, I read. I also listen to music, or I may listen to a podcast. I'll have a podcast on and have the boxing match with no volume on. But what about you? What do you do while you are watching a boxing match? Or if you don't watch boxing matches, what do you do while you're watching a soccer match, or some other sport, a baseball game? Maybe you're watching a baseball game or a tennis match. Number 9. What do you usually do during the period of time when the electricity goes out? What do you usually do during the period of time when the electricity goes out? Well, let's see. Yeah, I usually go outside, actually. I usually go outside and go for a walk. I don't like not having electricity, so I usually go outside and go for a walk until And then I come back in to see if the electricity's back on, and if it's not, I go back outside. But yeah, what do you usually do during the period of time when the electricity goes out? Or I could say, what do you usually do during a power outage? We could call that a power outage. Number 10, how late do you stay up when you don't have to work the next day? How late do you stay up when you don't have to work the next day? Well, for me, I basically go to bed at the same time every night. I go to bed very early, very early. Why? Because I get up very early, and it doesn't matter if I work the next day or not. I get up at the same time. I get up in the middle of the night. Basically, people say, you're a vampire. You're nocturnal. You're a vampire. Well, I say, I don't know. Maybe I get up very late at night or very early in the morning, but I've always been like that. So I go to bed very early. Now in the past, when I was much younger, I just didn't sleep very much. And so I didn't go to bed early. I went to bed when everybody else goes to bed, but I always got up early. But now I respect the necessity of sleep more than I did then. So I don't stay up late, but it does depend on the time of year. During the summer months where we have more daylight, I'm usually awake for a longer period of time. But how late do you stay up? Do you stay up until midnight or until the middle of the night? How late do you stay up when you don't have to work the next day? Number 11, how long has Tesla been producing electric cars? Wow, I don't know. I'm going to have to research that one. I can't help you guys on that. I don't know how long Tesla has been producing electric cars. Anybody out there know? Yeah, anybody out there know? Feel free to respond in the chat board there, or you can send me an email or feel free. But I don't know. I don't know, but I will say I'll just take a guess. Tesla has been producing electric cars since 2010. How about that? Tesla has been producing electric cars since 2010. That's just a wild guess. No idea. Okay, number 12, approximately 144 airports around the world have closed. That's 12 squared. 12 squared, 144. Do you think it is possible that air travel will disappear in the future? If so, when do you think it will end? Think it is possible that air travel will disappear in the future? Well, me? No, I don't. Actually, I don't think air travel will disappear. I don't think it will. Cars may disappear, as we discussed in the previous question, but I don't think air travel will disappear. But if it does, it will be a long time ago. Air travel will continue until the 25th century, I'll say. I'll just throw that out there, until the 25th century. What do you think about that? Will air travel be discontinued and disappear? What do you think? What do you think? All right. You guys are great. You guys are great here. All right. So very quick review of what we've looked at here. 4 indicates duration of time for 10 years, for 15 years, for 3 days, for 3 hours. This class has lasted for almost 30 minutes. Since, from a time in the past. We have discussed prepositions of time, since, 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's the beginning time. Until up to the time of, we will continue to discuss prepositions of time until the end of class. Until the end of class. During, we use a noun. I appreciate your attention during our class. I appreciate your attention during our class. And while is followed by a subject and then a verb. I participate, or I appreciate your attendance, and I appreciate your attention while I conduct the class. While indicating this at the same time as. Okay, so again, I thank you very much for attending the CINCILINGUA membership live class. I thank you for you all being members of our membership program. And I want to encourage you all to just make use of your membership, and make use of our website. You have a lot of material there for you. So, for example, we have games there, so you can compete and play games while you learn. Right, while you are learning, you can play games. So we call these Kahoots. We have audio books that you can listen to while you are doing the dishes, or while you are exercising. You can listen to our audio books. Great way to improve your listening skills. And we have also regular books for you to read, so you can use those as a resource to increase your vocabulary and see the different ways that we use these different that we use our prepositions, for example. Okay, so on that, again, my name's Todd. I'm here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I am very much looking forward to seeing you all next time. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful remainder of your day. Bye-bye.